Hey everybody. I wanted to chat a little bit about something I've been giving a lot of thought to over the last little while. We've had a number of people come into the rep room, and they're just beginning to get started on their health and fitness journey. You know, People that may have been active at one point in their life, and then life happened. They got busy. They had kids. They had careers. Or, you know what, they were able to get by in their youth without being super active, and now they're getting into their 30s, late 30s, and things are starting to catch up, and they're realizing that, hey, they don't want to be crippled the rest of their life. And so they're deciding to, get active and get involved with an exercise program. And I think that's awesome. And we certainly want to encourage that. And what I've been giving some thought to is, what's the best place to start? What's the best way to start with people? And when a lot of people initially think about that, how do I kick off a health and fitness? The mind immediately goes to things like, what's the right exercise I should be doing? What do I need to do to blast my glutes or tighten my abs? Follow close behind, or right there is, what nutrition program should I be following? Should I be following, a ketogenic diet? Should I be following intermittent fasting? Should I do high carbs, low carbs? And there's all these questions. And the more I thought about it, the more I thought that no, those two are secondary. The more I get involved with this, and maybe because I'm getting a little bit older, a little more philosophical, but the importance that mindset plays in health and fitness and actually making a change is something that I think at times can be overlooked, and in reality is probably one of the most important aspects, one of the most important considerations for when you're starting. So I think the very first thing that you need to improve or get right in your mind is, how are you going to build self-efficacy? And what I mean by self-efficacy, well, self-efficacy is the internal belief that you can do this, that you have the ability, that the things that you're doing today are going to lead to the changes that you want to see tomorrow. And that's super important. And I think it's where most people really, really struggle, because motivation and enthusiasm, that's great for the first little bit when you get up and going, but that fades pretty fast. And what you need to do in that period during the motivation is build your self-efficacy. So why is self-efficacy so hard to build? Well, there's two reasons that I think is. Number one is, the reality is, you've got a history of failure. For people that come to the rep room, come and see us, it's not the first time they've ever gone on a weight loss, on a health and fitness, on an improvement journey of some description, where they've tried something. And the reason that they're standing there talking to us, reaching out, reading things, is because whatever they've tried in the past has failed. And the older we get, the more and more often we've had these experiences where we started this diet in the hopes that it was going to be the magic bullet to change, or this exercise program was going to make everything better. And we got into it, and eventually it petered off, and we ended up back right where we started. And so every time we started on this, there's that little voice in the back of our heads which is reminding us, saying, hey, what's going to be different this time? You failed before, you're going to fail again. And not unreasonable to assume. I mean, nothing predicts the future like the past. So that's number one uphill battle that you got to fight. The second one is the fact that as human beings, we're hardwired to avoid pain. And that's very different than seeking pleasure. Human beings are what's termed psychologically loss adverse. We are set up to avoid pain. And when you look at the equation that you're asking somebody to commit to when they start off health and fitness, is typically, all those things that you like to do and those things you like to eat, well, don't do that anymore. And all those activities that you avoided and all those foods that you really didn't like to eat, well, guess what? You're going to eat all those. And so we have a massive, massive amount of loss right out the get-go. And what's the purpose of all this loss? It's for some future potential self-gain down the road, which can be very, very difficult to get to, because a lot of the things that kick people off in starting these journeys, I mean, weight loss is a big one, is this takes a long time, and it doesn't happen nearly as fast as everybody would like it to. And it certainly doesn't happen with the amount of effort that people think it's going to be. I mean, so right now we're fighting an uphill battle. So what do we do about it? How do you actually build self-efficacy? Well, I think there's kind of three things you want to focus on. First of all, super important is to differentiate or get right in your mind the difference between an outcome goal and a performance goal. It's very easy for us to get focused on outcome goals. You know, lose X amount of pounds, fit into this certain piece of clothing, walk confidently down a beach one day. Those are all outcome goals. And they're definitely influenced by the things we do, but there can also be a lot of external influences. You may have best intentions and then all of a sudden life happens and you may not be able to eat the way you wanted to eat or be able to exercise the way you want to exercise. And then all of a sudden you gotta make an adjustment. Okay, so what we want to do is we want to focus on what we call performance goals. And these are tangible things that you can do and are completely within your control. These are yes or no answers. Things like, did I exercise today? Yes or no. Did I eat a variety of colorful vegetables? Yes or no. Did I drink enough water? Yes or no. These are things 100% in your control. Now, the role of a coach in all this, and this is where, you know, an experienced expert can really help, is they can help you define what those performance measures should be, or those actions that you need to take on a daily basis, and the frequency by which you need to take them in order to reach your outcome goals. Okay, so that's number one. Number two is you need some form of accountability. Again, this is another great role for a coach. They can hold you accountable. You talk with the coach at the start of the week, okay, these are my actionable things I want to do, and the coach can follow up with you midweek and say, okay, did you follow up with these things? Great, you got 2 out of 3. Okay, what's the plan to get the third? And hold some accountability. Now, not everybody has a coach, but accountability can come in a bunch of different ways. Tonight, my wife Jess was off on the treadmill, getting in some extra treadmill. This is her 3rd session on the treadmill. Why? Because she's got one of these Fitbit things. And in her Fitbit, she's in a contest with a whole bunch of different people in terms of the number of steps per day. And so there's some accountability for her. She wants to win the contest. You know, myself, you may have seen earlier in the stories, I posted that I did the at-home bodyweight workout, and I got to tell you, I wasn't having a good day today. But I went down and I did it. Why? Because I had some kind of accountability to the people who are watching this, the people who follow us, the fact that I am a health and fitness professional and I need to set a good example. And there was my accountability. So accountability is super important to make sure that you're doing the right actions with the right frequency, especially in the beginning. And that over time is what's going to help you to build self-efficacy. The third thing that's super important is to recognize when you complete those performance tasks and celebrate them. Had the goal of going to the gym 3 times a week, made it to the gym 3 times a week, awesome, high five. Had a goal of eating 4 different types of vegetables every single day for 5 days, managed to do that, way to go, that's fantastic. And what we want to do is we want to use that momentum to carry on and build up to bigger things. Start with small changes, easy things to accomplish, set the bar low, and use the momentum to accomplish bigger things. So that's kind of how I like to get started, and that's kind of the approach that I like to take, you know, with myself personally and with anybody else who I'm working with to try and help them get along towards their fitness goals. Now, what do we do next? So if you check in the description on Facebook or check out the feed on Instagram, you'll see that tomorrow night I'm going to be live 9 o'clock this same time on the Rep Room's homepage, talking about building your fitness and why I think once you've got your mindset right, why focusing on your fitness is the most important thing. Now, when I'm talking fitness, I'm talking real basic. You could search the definition of fitness and you're going to get all kinds of definitions and everything that's included. But what am I talking about? I'm talking about being able to repeat an action or a movement and sustain it over and over again, number one. And then number two, being able to repeatedly do actions after a little bit of a break with a recovery and improve your recovery to produce sustained effort multiple times with some interval in between. And I think those are really, really critical things to be able to do. I mean, if we look at what we do in everyday life, we do things over and over again, you know, carrying the kids, carrying the groceries, that's sustained effort. You know, if we talk again about carrying the groceries, sometimes it's 3 trips into the house. That's repeated effort that you need to recover from and be able to reload and do it again at the same level of intensity. And there's all kinds of examples like that in everyday life. So what I'm going to be talking about is how to go about, we'll be talking about some actual tangible steps, how to improve that fitness. I'll be providing you with a little PDF that's got 3 at-home workouts a link to a YouTube channel which has exercise demonstrations of all the exercises in the program. And most importantly, I'm going to talk about why the mindset that has probably or really helped you, driven you to success in some aspects of your life, maybe it's in your career, some professional development, some success that you had with your family, whatever, but that very mindset may be the exact same thing that's holding you back right now, and how to get around it and reframe it. So I'd love to hear your thoughts. If you've got an opinion about how you started on your health and fitness journey, if you had success, what did you focus on? Please share it below. And if you're around tomorrow night at 9, please pop into the Facebook page. I'd love to see you, hear your comments, and hear your questions. All right, folks, hope everybody had a reasonable day here in London despite all the ice and crazy weather, and fingers crossed for a better day tomorrow. All right, have a good evening. Bye-bye.